Hypothesis testing with a pre-specified significance level. When you undertake a statistical hypothesis test, you can make two types of mistakes. You can incorrectly reject the null hypothesis when it is true, or you can fail to reject the null hypothesis when it is false. Hypothesis tests can be performed without computing the p-value if you are willing to specify in advance the probability you are willing to tolerate of making the first kind of mistake, that is, of incorrectly rejecting the null hypothesis when it is true. If you choose a pre-specified probability of rejecting the null hypothesis when it is true, for example, 5%, then you will reject the null hypothesis if and only if the p-value is less than 0.05. This approach gives preferential treatment to the null hypothesis, but in many practical situations, this preferential treatment is appropriate. Hypothesis tests using a fixed significance level. Suppose it has been decided that the hypothesis will be rejected if the p-value is less than 5%, because the area under the tails of the standard normal distribution outside plus or minus 1.96 is 5%. This gives a simple rule: reject big H sub naught if the absolute value of t superscript act is greater than 1.96, equation 3.15. That is, reject if the absolute value of the t-statistic computed from the sample is greater than 1.96. If n is large enough, then under the null hypothesis, the t-statistic has a big N of 0 and 1 distribution. Thus, the probability of erroneously rejecting the null hypothesis when it is in fact true is 5%. This framework for testing statistical hypotheses have some specialized terminology, summarized in Key Concept 3.5. The significance level of the test in equation 3.15 is 5%. The critical value of this two-sided test is 1.96, and the rejection region is the values of the t-statistic outside plus or minus 1.96. If the test rejects at the 5% significance level, the population mean, mu sub big Y, is said to be statistically significantly different from mu sub big Y naught at the 5% significance level.